Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live demo of the Ocean Data Platform. We'll wait another few seconds for people to sign up or sign in. Then we will get started. Today, I got my colleague Niklas Larsson with us, who is also the head of product at Hub Ocean and data. And he will give us a little presentation in the end about where we are heading. Okay, so today we're gonna go through some of the main features of the platform, and I will do that live. We will also look at some of the data set on the platform. I will give you a little presentation who we are just now, and then after we've gone through this, we're gonna have a little poll questions just to check the temperature and learn a bit from what you find is useful on the platform. And then we will have room for the discussion questions at the end. But also, we have my colleagues on the call that can answer questions in the chat. So feel free to post them there, and feel free to reach out to us after if that's what you prefer. Who are we? We are a non-profit based out of Norway, but working global, that are building the Ocean Data Platform. We have a mission and a vision to really protect and restore the oceans, so that you will see also how we have populated the platform with data and features to allow that. We also have our sister company Rev Ocean, who's building a state-of-the-art research vessel, and we are the data end of that project, and she's going to start doing missions in 2027. So the platform itself has two main features, the open data catalog, and it also has your own data space where you can put your own data in and use the same technologies as we use in the main catalog. It is also a powerful backend that can serve data into websites and apps, and we have our API and the SDK both for Python and R interactions. We also have a workspace, and there are many ways to be interoperable with this data, including GIS, and I will give you a little demo of that today. So these are the main features. For you who have not yet found your way to the platform, you can use the QR code there, or just Google us at Hub Ocean, and you'll find us in the platform. I will also say something short about the event. So today we're doing sort of an introductory live demo, and we have done quite a series of similar ones in the end of 2025, and you'll find them if you go to our events calendar. You'll find the recordings there as well. We've done a couple together with data providers too, to have real deep dives into some of the data on the platform. And coming up this spring will be more deepening webinars into features of the platform, as well as additional data webinars. Okay, on to the live demo. Let's hope everything works. So when you get to our webpage, this is what you see. You can head over to the platform, and here you get into the three main features that we have: the catalog, your My Data section, and the workspaces. In case you're not logged in, these two on the right will be grayed out, but it's easy to create your own login. It's free to do that, and then you have full access to the data and to workspaces. So we're going to shoot over to the catalog first. I'll give you a little feel for what's in here and how it works. So even right here on the top, actually, when you come into the catalog, you see one of our most popular data sets. So let's just have a look what that is. This is a global data set of marine protected areas from protected seas, and it is uniquely available in this form here on the Ocean Data Platform. So as you expect, you have a little bit of metadata about the data you find in the catalog. And you also have a key to connect to the data through our API. And also an instruction how to get to this data using OGC features in your JS. And then when you scroll down, you get a first little flavor what's inside this data. So this data is of a vectorized form that is ingested into our storage controller for tabular data. That means we have a bunch of statistics available for you already at this place. So you can go through and you can see this data has actually 87 columns, which is quite complex, and it has 20,000 rows. So you can start exploring what is inside here already. And if you look at that little info button, when somebody's put the time in to put metadata about each column in there, you'll find a piece of information on what's in that attribute. We can scroll over to, for example, level of fishing protection, which is a neat thing when you're looking at marine protected areas. Are they actually protecting anything? And we provide a little bit of statistics as well to, this distribution of data in that column. Okay, great. So we want to go further and explore this data. So you can hit Explore Table. I'm just going to highlight you can also export the whole data, currently in Parquet, CSV, and GeoJSON format, if you want to work with it offline or somewhere else. So you can explore this table. It might take a second or two because this data is fairly large, and it also depends on your own internet connection to a degree. So what you see then is you have the ability to go inside this data, and we can do a bunch of filtering operations. And on this page, you can choose to see up to 1,000 features inside that data. Protected seas have 20,000 features, so you don't get to see them all in this view of the Map Explorer. Now we're in New Zealand, that's because that's where we started. But we can actually already here decide to filter it differently and pull that data down. So let's try that. Let's say, well, let's see what's going on in Norway today. So we can make a box here and see if we can filter the data on this location. We can also add filters on the columns. So it wouldn't make sense maybe to filter by country here, but we could filter on, for example, the level of fishing protection we found before. Let's see if I find that. This data has a lot of columns. That's the challenge here. Let's see. I'm not being very lucky with my filtering today. Let's just do this instead. We grab a category name. So here you can choose if there's a thematic label, you can choose to filter on that. If it has very many unique ones, it will look a bit different. But in this case, we can choose the top thematic labels that are available. So great, we can apply the filters, and we will do some work on the server side to filter within that large geospatial data set. When the filtering is done, we can download the specific data and we can start exploring it here as well. So again, we can select to see as many features as we like, and we can actually start already here, look at that data and see what's in there. This is not a full GIS view, but it's there intended for you to start exploring data and access it. Great. I will show you also a little nice feature while we're at this. So the next, we keep developing all the time, of course, the platform, and this is one of the features that is already available, but we're still refining it a bit. So on this view, now the Map Explorer, we are using vector tiles, which means that we can get all of the data seen at this global view. And as you zoom in, you get more detail and more features showing up. This is challenging if the data is extremely large, which some of our data is. Okay, so let's go back to the catalog, and I will briefly show you some more data on there to give you a flavor of what's inside.
I can come up if you want to come up, watch.
Side can mute. Okay, so let's try a spatial search, because you can do that here as well. Well, let's have a go at the Caribbean, because it's winter in Norway. Let's say we wanted to have a look here in Puerto Rico and find something. Then we can run the spatial search, and it will find all the data that has overlap with that region. We can add a thematic search as well. Let's say we want to go for coral reefs. You can add that to it, and you will find some of the habitat data that we have on the platform. So, and I could say a few words on that too. We have tried to populate the platform with some really useful global data sets that help put the regional, local, national data sets in context, but we also have more local data sets on the platform. And I will come back to how you can publish and use more data when it's not on the platform. Okay, so here we have Island Coral Atlas. That's a known global data set on coral reefs. We also actually find some other data sets that are more local. So we could have a look at that. And you see the extent of that data, and in the same way, you can start exploring this data. And we could maybe take a note and copy the ID if we want to keep working with that. Okay, so that's an example of habitat. I'll come back to that in a second. Let's do another one on the seabed geology. Let's have a look at seabed. And then we find another global data set that we have on the platform. This one, we have collaborated with DB Seabed to bring you some sort of key habitat-related data to this on the seafloor with hard and soft bottom. This data, we can go back to the collection. So not all, but most data have a collection. It is just a grouping. That means that it can have a little bit of metadata, but then it's a grouping for a number of data sets that for some reason belong together. In this case, we have both supporting information, and I will show you another nice feature of the platform, which is data can be both ingested in this tabular format that I just showed you, but it can also be ingested as files. And those files can be of the kind that we support live preview of. So for example, a PDF, you can click this little button on the right, and you can actually go inside, for example, a report or something else that is bringing context to that data, images, etc. We can't view the zip file here. For that one, we would need to download it or use it in some compute environment. Now, let's move on to the actual data. Let's go and look at the hard and soft bottom data. So in this case, the data is here served as geotiffs. So you can download those directly and work with them offline, or you can pull them in to a computer environment. But we don't actually have the direct visualizations on the platform. That is something I think Nicholas will mention in the end of this presentation. So we can watch though these geotiffs that gives you a sort of a preview of that data. Another feature that is actually already implemented here is we have the ability to generate digital object identifiers, which just brings you back to this page for data that is published on Ocean Data Platform. Currently, it's something you have to contact us for that we are looking to integrate for all users. Okay, then we go back to the catalog. I will show you a last kind of file. So HubOcean we are working hard to get industry to share as much data as possible back to science. One of the most, I think, fantastic data that has been shared is from krill fishing down in Antarctica. So in this case, we just have a huge number of sonar raw files, so acoustic data from the fishing fleet from 2011, and we're actually working right now to get the last fishing season in from 2025. So we can click on any of these collections, and here you just have a list of raw files. But what's in there is actually, we've done a bit more than just serve you the raw files. We have extracted the file metadata from each and every one of those files. So inside here lives the track lines, the temporal extent, and so on from this data. And we can pull it in. I'll show you an example in a bit, how that can be pulled into a computer environment to provide some quite interesting science. And in this case, it is absolutely a massive amount of files that sit here. Let's see. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I will mention also that Hub Ocean, yeah, we are obviously working quite hard on the survey part of our data because of Red Ocean. So expect more features and functionality around survey data. So I'm going to head over to, we can go back to the dashboard. I'm going to go to my data space. And we're going to just see what it's like inside here and how you can add your own data collection. So here you see a mix of data that I have published or that's been shared with me. You can add a data set or you can create it under a collection. So let's do that today. Let's just say demo. When you have a collection, you can then manage access to invite other people that have signed in on the platform. You need to know their email address, and then you can add them as admins, editors, or viewers. From here, then we can add actually a data set. So, and why would you want to add one? Well, you might have your own private data, or the data you're looking for may not be on the platform. I will show you a nice example of that back to that krill data. So, sorry, the fishery data that I just showed you. So when data gets published, it often gets published with open data on a site like Zenodo, where it's in a zip format and random assortment of files. This specific publications is based on that krill data or fishery data that I showed you, and they've used machine learning to get predator objects like bubble trays from penguins, seals, and whales inside that data. But it's sort of hidden here inside of this Zenodo file, and you need to have some skill into R or Python to extract data. So I've done that, and I turn it into a GeoJSON file, so we can see what it's then like to add that data. So let's say we're going to call it krill data. Just do this. And add some tags if you want. So now you have sort of just the admin page for that data set. It doesn't contain any data yet. We can select files. Here, I prepared this ahead of time, so it's in a GeoJSON format. It could have been a CSV or a Parquet. The advantage with GeoJSON is it's already spatially defined, so the platform can immediately recognize the spatial part of it. And because of this format, we can ingest it now as a table as well. So if it wasn't in the right format, this option would not be available. So now we can explore this table and we can also edit the attribute columns. And again, you can manage access, and you'll find one more option here, and it's the public sharing link. So when we have this link, the data is possible to share with the link, but it's not listed on the catalog. And then we can preview the data, and well, we can actually do that. Let's go to the Explore table. So here again, you see that data. and we can start filtering and exploring. Let's see. I'm just going to show you the one I prepared for you as well, and it's a little bit more complete. There we go. Okay, so I did this ahead of time. Let's have a look at that data. So here I populated with all the metadata I want, and I actually also hit request to publish, which is the last sort of feature there. So then it will be in review, and if all the metadata is in place, just the core ones like copyrights and the provider, you're good to go, and it will be listed on the catalog. So if we go for explore table on this data, we'll pick some interesting area down in Antarctica, and I'll show you something fun. I know this place is a place where they have been fishing a lot. We can run the filter, and then there is actually a little GIS feature here, if you know where to find it, and we can go and look for what kind of detection was there. And if you hit these three dots, you can hit visualize on map, and you will get a legend based on what's inside that column. So here we see the detections of penguins and whales inside the data. Okay, so that's it for the my data part. Let's go back to the overview. So again, so this is I would just mention that when the data sits in your my data and you have a collaborator, they can also amend and push and modify the data. And there's an audit log to come along with that. So if we want to do some more involved work, we can use, if you head over to the documentation, you will find that we have documentation about our Python SDK, the R SDK, and how to connect with the data through OGC features in GIS, as well as the Stack API. So I will not go through these extensively today, but the documentation is here. There's also a GitHub with plenty of examples. I said I was going to show you the GIS. So this is just a very quick example of that. When you are in QGIS, you can connect to the OGC features, and you can drag in data from the platform, and you can stream it into your GIS environment. Again, if it's really large data, you will have some more challenges. Okay, so let's go back to dashboard, and we can go into our workspaces. So when you click workspaces, you will actually have an option. I was already signed in here, but you will have an option to what kind of compute environment you choose. If you choose the beta one with Jupyter.js, you will have available the features that I will now show you. So essentially, the platform has a Jupyter Lab environment set up. It means that you have R and Python already available. We also have this JS project that's available in Jupyter Lab, which I think is quite interesting. If we then have a go at what you can do, I will not show you the details here, but essentially you connect, here I've connected to a data set in the platform. I connected to our SDK, and then I've connected to a specific data set. Yeah, and then we can start working with that data. And there's essentially two things you can do. You can pull in your data into your compute environment, and then you can also do some compute and analysis features directly on the server side. So refer back to our documentation to figure that out. In the case of files, I've downloaded them here. I've downloaded all of the track lines that we looked before, and we can actually see the fishing track lines with acoustic data that had those penguins and whales inside them. So now I can pull in any sort of Python package that you might want to analyze that data. By the end of that work, we can go inside that data, and we can use also, of course, machine learning or things like that to pull objects and work with that data. Then you can push it back to the platform into your My Data space and collaborate on it. I will show you another quick example that we had a more in-depth demo of in the fall, and it's that one of the features that we have on the server side is being able to aggregate data spatially, and it's quite interesting, I think, for habitat data that comes in many shapes and forms. So in this example, we pulled in different coral reef data sets and we aggregated them on 8 hexagons to say, is there a coral reef inside this hexagon? And we did that for many sources so that we can make a new map that shows where the coral reefs are for from many different sources working at different habitat scales. And then by the end of that, we push the data back to Ocean Data Platform, and we can be several people working from several different work environments to push more data into that same data set. So you do not need to work in our ODP workspaces. You can be in Google Colab or your local environment, and you can collaborate on the same data set. Just the final little bits of piece before I turn over to Nicholas. We've been playing with that also on the global level. So here's an example how coral reef maps could look like when you start aggregating data at really big, large scales. And then it's quite thankful to have fast compute on the server side. I think that's all I had for the live demo. I'm going to head over to Nicholas.
Sure.
To talk a bit about the roadmap.
I was just answering pick over the mic then. Yes.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Just turn off. Thank you, Gustav. So, like Gustav just showed, we have a very powerful platform, and it's been very well received from our users last year, and we have gotten a lot of fantastic feedback. And looking now into 2026, we are really what we call solidifying the ODP to make it both more robust and more performant. And we started creating this platform really focusing on pure scientist use cases, and especially scientists who know how to code. A lot of the feedback that we received is that we see that scientists often work in larger teams, and they also work with other scientists, but also work within larger teams with stakeholders that might not be as scientific or might not be as code savvy as themselves. So therefore, what we're really focusing on going forward is to make the involvement of a broader team and a collaboration around the ocean data. And it comes through 3 different parts. One is to really strengthen the visualization capabilities. Gustav shown a lot of those features that exist already today, but we wanted to make it both more performant, so then it's more pleasant and easier to use, but also being able to handle really large data sets. And also when you get into larger teams, and I saw there are a couple of questions that I'm answering here around when you ingest your own data. Already today, I mean, as an individual user, you can keep it private to yourself. You can share it to your team and involve them, and but you can also choose to publish it to the rest of the world. So you have all these different alternatives. We have gotten a lot of feedback on how to make the collaboration around the different data sets in a team even richer. So we're focusing to that. And also the last point is that the platform was really developed bottom up from all the storage and with the different APIs and for a fairly tech savvy scientist. And we added the catalog, a UI, and it works very well, like Gustav just showed, but we wanted to make it even more easier. So we are working a lot, and we release later on this spring a much nicer and delightful front end that's easier to use. Another thing we noticed last year is that as we developed our Python SDK, it turned out that the way we designed it, and we had it a little bit in the back of the minds, is our engineers were really into Gen AI and LLMs to use for coding. So it turns out that it's very, very powerful to be used, whether you're using Google Gemini or Claude Code, and even no-code tooling like Lovable to make very specific and customized applications and use cases. So we are doubling down on that because we've seen how powerful it can be done, and it can be done already today very, very well, but we want to support it even further. So what does that mean for our roadmap? On the back end, so we already today have a tabular data storage that supports vector. We have, of course, the files that Gustav was into, and we are extending and making our existing R and Python SDKs even more powerful for scientists. And as I mentioned, a much easier to use UX. After that, we are upgrading our catalog for more powerful collaboration, so enabling even more granular sharing of the different data. And also, as there are so many different organizations, whether they are NGOs or intergovernmental organizations that want to build or already have applications that they want to use ODP as a backend. And on the front end, and Gustav was alluding to this, is that we take all the power of the platform and make visualizations built into the UI, and being able to zoom in and out with even large data sets in a very pleasant way. And after that, we're adding later on in the year, you can have raster files, of course, on ODP, but having that as a storage, so you can have all the powerful SDKs on top of that as well. And as I'm mentioning, having a support for LLMs and so on, and it works already today, but we want to have our own MCP server to provide agentic workflows in a really nice and powerful way. And this might actually come a little bit earlier as well. And last but not least, on the front end, to enable teams that consist of both scientists that can code and other scientists or stakeholders that might not be coder, to do some simple analysis on the on different maps. So, for example, you can have two different layers and calculate, for example, the share that are overlapping. And last but not least, being able to have notifications when things change in dataset and communicating with your team members around the datasets. So we are up for a really, really exciting year and future. So yeah, would love to have you along and also get feedback along the way as you test out different features. Now turn off.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for that. Okay, so let's see, we got some questions in the chat. I will ask of you to spare me for a second, and we will go through 4 quick poll questions. And I much appreciate if you take part, and they will remain active for the length of the meeting, so you can go back to them in a bit if you can't think of them. And you will all see the results as well. They're all anonymous as well. So first, describe your experience of this webinar. Just put a few words in, not more than that. We should have some poll music, Nicholas.
Yeah. You don't want me to sing, that's for sure.
I don't know. I think maybe the participants would. Right. Okay. We're getting some nice words. Feel free to put any words in, not just the nice ones, in case that's what you want. Okay. Interesting, insightful, and good vision. That sounds good. Okay. I'm gonna pull out the next question. So, which part of the live demo was most relevant to you? And this is a multi-select, and you can think of it a bit like what features are most useful in your context as well. We're quite interesting to see where our users want us to put the most energy and resources. So the Ocean Data Platform catalog itself, ability to find data, explore, filter, export. So everything you can actually just get from the platform in terms of data and how you get it. The other option, the My Data space, where you put your own data up into Ocean Data Platform with the ability to manage, collaborate, and publish data from there. Third option, data analysis using workspaces and working with the platform through Python or R. And fourth option, connect the data from GIS if you're more of a GIS user. And then maybe you were mostly interested in the product presentation by Nicholas in the end. Just hit a few of those that you find interesting. And just in the interest of time, I'm gonna keep sending you the last two questions, and then we'll have a few more minutes for questions. So third question, describe a challenge you have where the Ocean Data Platform could be helpful. So maybe it's finding data or sharing data or something along those lines, or a specific problem you have. You can put in just a few words or a longer sentence if you want. We're creating a little word cloud. Great. Me personally like the collaboration part. I think that's sort of intrinsic when you're in the cloud, that's what it allows you to do. Okay. Keep those responses coming in. We much appreciate them. Give you another few seconds. And you can also see these results yourself. I may not have time to go through them in detail before we reach the hour. So last question, I promise. What kind of support will be most helpful when using Ocean Data Platform? So I already indicated we're running some deepening webinars, essentially focusing on specific features with more depth, and getting some of the developers on the call as well this spring. The details are still emerging, but you will be notified when that becomes available. We're also looking into more trainings, courses, etc. None are official yet. Some are in the works. That will become, allow for more support and activating you with some example challenges. Then online support, chats, forums, documentation and examples, or your fairly happy to just find your own way and you just want an intuitive platform to do that. How that went. Okay. Give that a few seconds. While you think about that, I'm just checking the chat for questions. Niklas, perhaps we can already start addressing questions in the last 5 minutes. If any...
Yeah, I'm typing here.
Yeah.
the different questions.
Actually,
maybe it's faster. Well, actually, if I type it, then people have it. So
I think, you know, having the last 5 minutes, so some of the questions are being answered in the chat. But if you are happy to unmute and ask them yourself, we could have that give that a try as well. You do not have to, but any of you want to raise your voice and ask a question, feel free to do so. Should be able to just unmute and talk. Or you can raise a hand if that's easier. Here, Luigi, please go ahead.
Hi, Gustav. Hi, Nicholas. Thank you very much. Very, very good webinar. I asked a few questions in the chat, but the overall theme of those questions is that the platform is hosting some great data sets. They're there. They're in the same space. They're in your same cloud environment, etc. And the questions that I asked are all about trying to interlink between them so that when you're browsing one, others that are relevant or somehow connected can also be presented as a sort of augmentation, right? And from what I'm gathering, those are in development rather than deployed right now. And I would just like to know the shape of how you intend to better cross-link the data sets on the platform so you can deepen the user experience.
Maybe I'll pass it over to you, Nicholas.
yes,
So you can just hop into...
I can hop into your screen.
Hop into my...
Yeah, yes. So thank you. That's a great question. So you're absolutely right. So today, the data sets in themselves are, although accessed through a standard way, this is same SDK no matter where you go, and it's easy to see the different schemas. So a lot of the data sets, and over time it will be more and more, the data sets are the ones that are uploaded and ingested by the user, so they decide the schema. However, having said that, what we want to do is being able to improve on those data sets and standardize across those schemas. And what we see then is that I think I mentioned it a little earlier, that using tooling on top. So today, the way typically our users do those types of queries, as I was about penguins, they typically do that easily using our workspaces. However, we see some really forward-leaning users leveraging LLMs to a certain degree. And we are very, very excited to see how we can support that. But it has to be on data sets where we can, for example, use Darwin Core improvement on the existing data sets, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank
And,
you.
I would encourage you to try even before the sort of format standardization, because sometimes even if a prey species of something like penguins is mentioned, it doesn't, you can process any format to discover that and at least suggest a connection. So, but it's exciting to hear that you're thinking in that direction.
Yeah. And Pierre, I was also thinking, yeah, another associated thing is, of course, being able to do spatial joins and so on between data sets on the server side. So, that's another thing in development. You cannot actually, right now the server compute, which is very efficient and fast, but it's on per data set. So you have to join them, from another environment essentially, or make a join and upload them to the platform.
I have a great question here from Maya Block Heimson, where what unique capabilities are available for analyzing multivariate data sets by IP? that are not available for downloading datasets from repositories and working on them offline. Okay, so I have a bit different. Okay. So actually, I think not most, because we have a lot of private data sets, but many data sets are available in the public. But they exist sometimes in an FTP server. Sometimes you have to send email, maybe get it sent to you, or and sometimes there are an APIs, but also on different SDKs through different standards. So the feedback we get from the users that they appreciate the most is the fact that you have all the different data sets in one place. You have the same SDK, so essentially you can use the same scripts and the same way of working with the data sets. Of course, having to change, the actual data sets and the different queries and the columns you're looking for and so on. But that's what it's appreciated, even if those data sets are available public repositories. But then, of course, we have many data sets that are not available in public repositories, whether that is from industry or from users who have chosen to ingest and publish them. And teams can work on data sets privately with the same functionality as they do on the data sets that are publicly. I don't know if that answered your question, Maya, but that's at least what our users are mostly excited about when they work with ODP.
Okay, great. I will hold us to the hour minus a minute. And I will thank all of you for joining in today. Thank you for all of the questions. If we haven't had time to answer them properly, we will keep doing that for the next little while. So you can keep watching the chat if you haven't got an answer to your question just yet.
Yeah, we'll go through them and look at it.
And yeah, thank you so much for the responses. Thank you so much for giving feedback and for using the platform. And we're very happy for so many to join today. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.